welcome Juhi here. So Juhi has made it not just to ISB, but an ISB regular with work experience, Duke and Cornell with scholarships. I'll ask her, and NYU Stern. And she applied to quite a lot of schools. An interesting journey. I heard her interview. I did not take the interview initially. Brilliant that she started with this New Year resolution that she wanted to go with, and so on. And so many interviews we have here in video. You can check them on our channel. But Juhi, if you can probably start your video.
Good morning, sir.
So, Juhi, first of all, congratulations. This is the first time we're actually talking. I mean, we have exchanged texts, etc. But absolutely awesome. First thing is, which school are you joining? Because I was told by Autrri that your parents want you to join ISB, but you want to go abroad. So, what is this dilemma? Tell us. Let's start from there.
Uh, yes, sir. So actually, I started with my initial goal of joining the Indian School of Business, and then when I got my GMAT score, and then when I actually reviewed my own profile, and I
Mhm.
connected with Autrri, sir, I kind of realized that I can apply to more B schools as well. But then after connecting with my few who are buddy, or after connecting with a lot of people who are in US right now, I've decided to join ISB only. Because the
Right.
growth in India is it's exceptional right now, and the
Yes, yes,
opportunities as well.
absolutely. I am very, very convinced about it. The story that we have in this country, and especially if you want a career in this country eventually,
Yeah,
ISB
yeah.
is an excellent choice, and as many people have been doing. So, Joey, because Rishabh came from the commerce side of things and you come from engineering, does it make a difference? I mean, is it harder or easier for people from engineering with this kind of work experience? You'll have what? Now you'll have 2.5 years of work experience?
That's correct. Yep.
That's and you've already made it to so many schools and you applied. So just take us through your general experience. How did you start this journey? Because I heard this was some new year resolution and you want to finally head any top organization as CEO. So I mean, exceptional ambition. I mean, I am really all for people who have ambition and who really, really can scale their ambition to such an extent that it was amazing to hear. So over to you now, please.
So Sandeep, sir, the thing is that being from an engineering background, I realized early on that I do not really want to pursue a career in engineering. So in the first year of college, I took electrical engineering by choice, and in the first year, you study all the subjects, right? So
Right.
I got the lowest score in electrical, and my branch was electrical. So from that point on, I decided that I wanted to do something else. Then I started my own startup, right? And I started doing a lot of internships. So I've in college only I did an internship at IIM Bangalore at FMS Delhi, and I started building my profile that way. Then I decided that I want to gain an experience in all the industries and all the geographies, and that is the reason I decided to pursue consulting. And after 2 years of experience in consulting, I kind of reassessed my short-term goals, and MBA fitted perfectly into my short-term goals because I finally wanted to make an impact in a lot of industries and a lot of geographies and finally attain a very senior leadership position. So I think, yes, being from an engineering background, it's very important that you kind of early on realize your goals.
Oh, that's great. And when did you finally think that, no, I am starting now with, let's say, obviously the first step is the GMAT, but what was the plan in your mind by which date you would write? And then, I mean, there's always a chronological plan in our head. So, did you do some research? What will be required? And you said initially it was clearly ISV on your mind and which has materialized. So, just let us know, please.
Absolutely correct. So when I joined ZS, I got into a team. And then my short term goal again was to get into my dream team. Right. And when I got into that client team, I just kind of started thinking, what next? And then I decided to give the GMAT. And Sandeep, sir, the GMAT process is so vast that if you start researching as to what colleges you want to apply to, what the interview process is, you won't be able to get started with GMAT, right? So
Everyone
I kind of
listening in, please
decided.
listen to this very careful point. I mean, we know the process afterwards, but first, Autrri also can't turn you around into anything unless you have the basic minimum score. And one more thing, Juhi had a score of 740 and she has been granted 50% scholarship, not just at ISB, at other places. So the higher your score, the chances are also higher for your scholarships, just to add. Yeah, go ahead now, please. Yes.
Yeah, so sir, I think according to me, it's very important to just focus on the GMAT, right? Because if I would have decided that I am going to apply to this college, there would have been no point if I did not have a GMAT score. So I just decided to concentrate on the GMAT as to what are the right steps to give the GMAT. And by this date, I have to give the GMAT so that I'm able to apply in round one of the application process. This is the GMAT goal that I had. Right. And I just had, I think, 1 month to apply to all the colleges. And that is when Autrri sir helped me a lot. Right. I mean, writing 5 to 6 applications in just a month, along with targeting the right colleges. So I think Autrri sir will really help you in the entire process, but you really need to give the GMAT first. So
Understandable.
yeah.
And what were some of the struggles along the way with respect to the GMAT, with respect to self discovery, with respect to penning things down eventually? Like the entire journey, I'm not asking purely because everyone will resonate with the struggles that you probably had. And you also said that it hasn't been easy. I mean, it's not that sab aram se plate pe rakha hua mil gaya, aisa to hota nahi hai. So tell us about the struggles with everything that you've had. Sometimes moments of self doubt, sometimes that, okay, have I taken up more than I can really handle, have I bitten off more than I can chew, all of that. And it everybody goes through this, every winner eventually does go through this. Yeah, please tell us.
Initial struggles were with the GMAT sir. So my reading speed has always been very slow, right? So my main struggle with the GMAT was that I took a lot of time while reading the questions, and I did not have a lot of time to, think about the options and as to what the right answer is. So I kind of conquered that with practicing a lot of passages.
Yeah.
And I used to wake up at 4 in the morning, study for 5 to 6 hours every day. So I was not consistent at first, and I kind of witnessed the fact that if you're not consistent, you forget,
Mm,
right? So being consistent and giving those 5 months is worth it.
mm.
And I think the next set of struggle for me was a lot of people telling me that your goals are not very realistic. So
Oh,
in
oh,
2 years of
mm.
work experience, you cannot get into these colleges. So set realistic goals. So and the struggle was this, and then I used to think to myself that no, I can do it. Right? I mean, the goal is not realistic. Not a lot of people do that, but I will do it. So and yeah, and I think in the interview process as well. So I have a defense mechanism. Whenever I'm nervous, I show myself as extra confident. So that really worked out for me in the interviews.
All right. And how
Yeah.
was the process of self discovery while, let's say, taking recommendations, writing essays, writing the resume? Did you discover that, okay, this was not an angle I would have probably thought about when it came through in discussions, etc.? Just take us, because everybody will have to eventually figure this out as well. So yeah.
Yes, that's correct. So I think also gives you a brainstorming questionnaire, right? I personally took a lot of time. So I had 1 month to fill all the applications. I took 2 weeks to fill that questionnaire and to answer each and every question because I really wanted also to get to know me. And in the process, I got to know a lot of things about myself as well. Right. So yeah. And during this process of self discovery, I had a lot of things that were not worth mentioning in my CV, but they were definitely asked to me in my interviews. So
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. And eventually, like, how many drafts did it take you to finally, let's say, fill in four, five, six applications? Probably you did. So yeah, how many drafts did it take you? Like from X to Y, if I look at that, it was really raw draft and then a very polished, proper application. How many drafts?
A lot of drafts, all three, sir, if you know that, right? So I took, I think, 10 to 15 days to fill the ISB application.
I'll just come in, Sandeep, and I will mention something. I just want to point out that I have seen Juhi completely transform. I see her now talking, and Juhi, you're a credit to yourself. You're doing so well, and I know, you're headed for very, very big things. But what I want you to talk about, and I know many students will go through this, is I saw when I first interacted with you, I found you someone who was doubting herself a lot. Sandeep uses the word self-discovery. I think for you, this process has been, nothing short of that, I think. So maybe you can elaborate on that a bit more. A lot of self-doubt. I remember, I can pick out specific essays. If you remember that Duke 25 random points, Duke has a
Yeah.
very interesting essay,
Right.
Sandeep, where they tell you to tell us 25 random
Yeah.
points
Yeah.
about yourself. And there is literally no filter. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember, with Juhi, we went through so many iterations of that. And one thing that is great about Juhi is, you give her, sort of guidance, some instructions, and she's fabulous. She'll absorb it and she gets on it. So that's excellent. but she tends to doubt herself a lot. And through the application process, towards the end, towards the later ones that we worked on, or when she went for interviews, and when I see her talking now, for instance, wow, what a metamorphosis. I don't know what's the right word, but Juhi, how did you do it? Tell everyone else, because I'm sure many students logging in here are in that same boat. So please tell us.
That's correct, Autrri sir. And I think I also remember our first mock interview, right? When
Yes.
I'd memorized everything and I was just speaking, and you were like, "What are you doing? You'll not get selected like this." So yes, I remember that. And I think, as you correctly mentioned, that nothing will make you sail your boat, right? It's just your confidence and conviction that will. And I think I took a lot of days after our first mock interview and before my ISB interview to actually reflect in myself and to actually think that why am I not confident? And I kind of start building that confidence in front of the mirror and, studying, reading my own resume and just kind of realizing how good that is, right? And one turning point, I'd say, in my ISB interview as well, it was that to show them how happy you actually are already in your life. So they actually asked me that what will happen if we do not select you? What's your plan B? And I told them that I'm going to get promoted in 1 month anyway. So if you do not select me, it's completely all right with me. Right.
Excellent.
And I could sense this on their face that this was the last question of my interview. My interview was just 15 minutes long, and I could sense it on their face that this is what they wanted to hear from me.
Excellent.
Right.
Right.
And ISB was my first interview. And after that, I kind of carried this in all my other interviews.
Yeah, tell us
So
about
yes, this
Duke. You're very confident about your Duke interview. So tell us exactly what made you feel so confident. I mean, sometimes you just feel it's very palpable in the air in a way. So what was so good about the interview at Duke? Let's take that as well here.
at Duke. All right. So the Duke interview was like they really
Which
made me
one did
feel
you say was the best interview? Because you said ISB also went fine, but Duke was the best, probably. I mean, one of the things you said, I don't remember. Was it Duke, right? Or something?
Yes. So my best interview was Duke and NYU's turn,
Right.
right? And so in the Duke interview, they make you very comfortable and they ask you a lot of questions, right? And I gave them a lot of impromptu responses as well, things I did not really know about myself. So, for example, in my NYU's turn interview, they just asked me as to one word, one quality that I really cherish in myself. And I actually have 4 stories prepared for myself. Autrri sir has actually, taught us to keep 4 to 5 stories and to just make sure that you tell these stories in the interviews. And whatever question they ask you, just tell these stories. Right. And I have 4 to 5 stories prepared with me. And the one quality that I mentioned in front of them was that I am the biggest advocate for myself, and let me tell you how I do that. And
Wow.
then I started advocating for myself. And then I think this is something that really worked out for me.
Super, super to know. So I'm very happy for the transformation, Joy. Any piece of advice for people who are starting right now or who are in the process already of preparing for the GMAT? Some of them will be very, very new right now. They've not even started. Some of them who are now starting, how should they plan the next 6 to 8 months? Because that's the time when you go through the self-doubt, self-discovery, pouncing, finally that, okay, you did so well eventually, and so on and so on. I mean, from the initial you're sounding too rehearsed to going to sound very natural, all of this, what can they do from now? Just tell. If you think that right now it should be GMAT, then it will be GMAT. If you think that something else can be done from your side, I'd like to hear.
Sir, I think being consistent is very important, first of all, right? And I would also like to shed light on the fact that the GMAT material is very limited on the internet and, everywhere. So just give everything in these 4 to 5 months. Do not be consistent and go with the wrong approach in these 4 to 5 months, because you will be in a problem after that. So be consistent, give this to yourself, because GMAT is actually life changing. And you've got nothing to lose with the GMAT. That is the reason I actually decided to give the GMAT, right? You've got nothing to lose. You're already working. And yeah, I mean, if you do not do very well in your first attempt, you always have a second one, right? So I'd say this is something. And as to, while giving the GMAT also, people really think as to what colleges they'll apply to. And what if, so a girl contacted me and she was like that I am currently writing my essays, but I'm not able to focus on them because I'm very tensed about my interviews. So this is something that you should not do. just believe in yourself that you will be able to do everything step by step, and everything is doable, right?
Superb.
So yeah.
And once your
Can I
GMAT is done, yeah, sure, sure.
can I just add one point, sir?
Yes, Rishabh, please do, please do.
Sir, it's just deviating from the topic a little, but Juhi said this that Autrri sir said that ये क्या कर रहे हो ऐसे नहीं होगा interview में. So that just reminded me about something. Is that I feel like the best part about top 1% and about you and Autrri sir is that the people here are very blunt, right? They're
Yeah.
like very straightforward, no BS. So even during my GMAT days, I remember when I used to watch your recorded classes because I was in the self-paced course. I remember you telling a lot of people कि when people are saying कि नहीं हो रहा है, you just tell them कि क्यों नहीं हो रहा है, like are you doing this correctly, are you not doing this correctly, what is the problem? So I feel like a lot of other people just sort of provide you with that कि नहीं नहीं कोई बात नहीं हो जाएगा, सबके साथ डिफिकल्टीज आते हैं, करते रहो हो जाएगा. बट आई थिंक फ्रॉम योर एंड इट्स वेरी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड. इट्स वेरी कि अगर like if you're not getting it, then probably you're doing something wrong only, right? Because the material that you're providing, the guidance that you're providing, if anyone is able to follow that correctly, then I don't think there's going to be any issue. And with Autrri sir also, I remember in one of our calls, I showed him a essay draft, and I distinctly remember him telling me कि तुम्हें उनको अपनी औकात दिखानी है, ठीक है? I remember him telling me, and that really motivated me कि he's right. मतलब I have to show them why I can get in, right? So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Right. So, Juhi, please, could you just continue with 2 or 3 things that right from now, I mean, GMAT is one thing, but can they do something else? Because, see, with 2 years of work experience, cracking a Duke or cracking a Stern sort of a school is not something a norm. I mean, we've seen people do that, but when you're applying, you have 2 years of work experience. So, we manage the GMAT and work. It will be a bit messy right now because one of them is trying to join us first. So yeah, Juhi, go ahead, please.
So the company in which I am, we work 12 hours a day, right?
12.
And yes,
Okay.
and so with that, it was my promotion cycle as well, right? It was my critical cycle, so I had to go an extra mile. So I tried studying the GMAT along with work in the evening. But when we do that, right, after working for such a long time, we tend to give ourselves a reason that we've worked a lot today. It's okay to not study for that particular day. I think 1 month after this, I came up with the strategy of waking up early in the morning. So once you've done your study, when once you've studied for the day, once you've spent 5 hours there, you won't have the guilt that you have to study for the GMAT. You can start working. So I think waking up early really really worked for me and really helped me
Is
manage
it really
these two
easy? I
things
mean, it's
together.
not something that is easily manageable, right?
So I used to live in Gurgaon. I shifted back to Noida, where my mom used to wake me up. So then it becomes easy.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone listening in, please have a plan because you are in Jan. I'm just one thing I want to ask Juhi as well is what was this new year plan that you made that this time it has to happen? That is something that was missed probably. Can you just talk about it? Because in your
Uh,
interview, you said something very, very prominent around this idea.
that's correct, sir. So I joined Top 1% also in December only, right?
Mm.
December 2022. So I'd been wondering for the past few months the what next question.
Mm.
Right. And I just wanted to get started with my preparation and then just,
Mhm.
achieve this goal and just get done with it. So I decided that 2023 will be a life-changing year for me, and I have to plan the year that way. And I do not really want to give myself excuses. And when I saw your that Excel that you provide, right, the customized plan, it was very helpful because it looked very reasonable and very real to me. So I think that is something that I could really, kickstart my process with. So yeah, the New Year's
But you had a
resolution.
very clear intent that this year I have to make it count. I mean, that's something that
Hmm.
I'm just asking because that was a highlight, probably of one of the things that you said clearly. Okay,
Yeah.
so a couple of things, everyone listening in, and I'll ask Autrri's input as well. What you can do right now is just yes, do your basic research. I'm not denying the basic research, what schools want and what is the entire process, how many people can I connect on. on LinkedIn. I mean, connect with on LinkedIn and so on and so forth. Do your basic research. But after that, put yourself completely into the GMAT. Because without that, all this is a talk. आप ISB अपने फ्रेंड के साथ एक हफ्ता रह भी आओगे तो आपको ISB सेलेक्ट नहीं करेगा. आप कुछ भी कर लो, you'll say I know 100 people from ISB, doesn't matter. I know anything,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And the minimum score that you need, it has to be 710, 720, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, higher the score, the higher the chances. Autrri, how should they plan? Because you always tell that in your sessions as well. How should they plan their journey from now?
I mean, just one thing I wanted to point out, something that came out with both what Rishabh and Juhi were saying. I think from a fundamental point of view, be happy people to start with. I think that's my first broad strokes advice. Be a happy person, be a positive person. I think it's something that both mentioned. Schools look for positive people. You know, this whole I almost feel sometimes I want to help students, but it's almost like I have to go against their I don't know, persona, whatever, to help them sometimes. You know, people are so reluctant to even take that help. I mean, maybe Sandeep, you can add here. You've been doing this for so many years. I think we give our advice, and you know, I'm so happy that students are saying we're blunt with it because we really genuinely know that that advice works. But students
And
are
we
just
also
so
know, we also want you to succeed. I mean, see,
exactly.
with sugarcoating, मैं अगर बोल दूं सबको कि सब हो जाएगा आराम से, तो फिर तो कुछ नहीं होगा ना. कैसे होगा फिर? तो आप ये मानो.
Exactly.
We have to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
blunt in
I
the
think
sense we are not disrespectful when we say blunt,
Yeah.
but we have to be candid कि ये चलेगा नहीं चलेगा. और तुमने जैसे बोला होगा पहला इंटरव्यू करने के बाद जूही को कि ये क्या कर रहे हो, मतलब ऐसे कैसे सिलेक्शन हो सकता है तुम्हारा, वो इम्पोर्टेंट है.